In this chapter, we're going to learn how to do graphical user interface programming using TK, which is a toolkit for creating widgets that make up a graphical user interface. A lot of you may be familiar with the Tcl TK or TCL TK environment, and TK is just the graphical user interface toolkit part of that environment. We don't have to install Tcl TK or TK because it comes with our Ruby distribution. So we're ready to start right off using TK. So in this lesson, we're going to begin with a simple example to demonstrate just the basics of creating a graphical user interface. The first thing I'm going to do is open a new program where we're going to write our code. We'll call this tkexample.rb. So the first thing we have to do is load the module for TK. So we write require TK. And then we're ready to start creating the interface. The first thing we do is we make a call to something called the root object. And then we give a title to our user interface, and we're going to call this first example. The next thing we're going to do is create one widget to put in our graphical user interface. In this case, it's going to be a label. So we use the label object, TK label, and then we call the new method with the root, our root object, as the argument. Then if we want to put some text inside, we'll do it like this. So we say text space and then the text that we want in quotes, in this case single quotes. Then the last step is to perform something called a pack. It's kind of like compiling it to make it ready to be displayed. And here we're going to give some commands, which we will explain in future lessons. And then we end that code. To actually display the user interface, we have to call the main loop method like so, tk.mainloop. So let's save this code, bring our command prompt back up. Brings it up in a very small window. We'll talk later about changing that size. But there's an example of how a user interface is created. So let's go back and look at the code. Let's close it first. And it's really very simple. There's just a few commands. It's primarily a very mechanical process. We create a root object. Then we create the widget that we want, put some text in it, then pack it. That makes it ready to be displayed. And then to actually display the user interface, we call tk.mainloop. And that's really all there is to it. So that wraps up this first lesson in using TK to create user interfaces in Ruby. And let's move on to the next lesson where we're going to look at some more sophisticated examples.